I want to do something a little different. I'm thinking about the reading from Acts today and about this woman named Tabitha and the unfortunate sound it makes in Greek, Dorcas, which we, sometimes find kind of funny. But the word actually means gazelle. And Tabitha or Dorcas was a great seamstress, a maker of garments and beautiful things. And I wonder if her name Gazelle meant she was a very fast sewer, because back then, think about it, there wasn't electricity, so everything had to be hand stitched. Everything was made by hand. And I think about how she is in the Acts of the Apostle called a disciple. She's called a disciple, and she's made all these lovely, beautiful things. One of the complaints I get every once in a while from uh, my flock, as they say, is that the examples of the saints and the disciples are just sometimes so they're so unachievable, or maybe you don't want to achieve martyrdom, And last week I talked about the discipleship of Peter after the resurrection and how someone would tie a cord around his waist and drag him where he doesn't want to go. And is that always the way discipleship works? And today I want to actually look at Tabitha, who is called a disciple, and she is celebrated because she made beautiful things, uh, great acts of charity out of this lovely ability to work with her hands. And I want to think about how that works in our church. And I want to show you a few pictures of all the beautiful things, or some of the beautiful things we've made at St. Thomas by people who are like Tabitha, who made beautiful things by hand. So I'm just going to take you on a tour of a couple of pieces. And let's see, let's take at this first piece here. Can you see it? Let me just minimize this so I can see it. You see this altar here and all these different things around the altar? Well, first I want to talk about who made some of these things. So you'll see that there are these candlesticks here, these big candlesticks. These were made by Bill Cowens, who was the rector of this church before Wendy was the rector of this church. So 3 rectors ago. And Bill was a great craftsman, made many things actually in the church by hand. So what you don't see is that underneath this altar is a big piece of wood. In fact, it caps the original altar. The original altar was all this concrete that you would see here. That's what it looked like. And then Bill made this cap of wood to extend the altar, to make it larger, and in a sense create a sense of abundance and openness and in our space it gives it visual weight. And in fact, everything Bill seemed to make was very heavy. I noticed everything is very big. And the wood here was given to Bill by Gage McKinney. Gage had a lumber business, and he had invited Bill to come and take a look at the wood and take whatever he wanted to build something for the church. So I thought there are other things in the church that was built by Bill. There's a cross in the chapel. The big cross in the chapel was built by Bill, and processional crosses. And I believe that the Paschal candle, that big stand, was also built by him. So loving hands made that. The other thing you'll see here is this thing here, this Pentecostal frontal. And that was made by the Needle Guild. At that time, I believe, when this piece was made, Lorraine Fife was head. And I'm actually going to now invite Clarabelle Dare to unmute herself to talk about her experience on Needle Guild.
I guess I have to go online. Pat and I looked at this, and this is made by Linda Ormiston.
Oh, okay. Thank
It
you.
wasn't the, no, we didn't do this one because of the fabric and all that. This is her design. And it was later on, it was during Wendy's time. And this is not from that one. What we did was that when I first came on this, I was a young mother with a little baby, and I wanted to get out of the house. And she had it in the morning. So I took my son on the infant seat, and we went and did it. They had already done all the green hangings and the green vestments. And we were into the yellow ones and the gold, the big chasuble. And that was very difficult. And I only did a stow on that one. And I thought it would be very easy because I knit, and I do all that. And I had done embroidery. And they just said that you have some embroidery skills, you can come and help us. So I learned a lot from Lorraine Fife because she was a very good teacher. And so we did that one. And then we finished that. After we finished that, and I think about it, after Su Ying asked me, I only worked on the red hangings, the fabric was so wonderful. And it was so easy to do. And I did one of them, either the lectern or the pulpit. I did that, and we did the stoves. And then after that, I don't know what happened, but I didn't go back anymore because I guess I got kind of busy. And they did the needlepoint on all the cushions afterwards. Mm-hmm. At that time, we had Lorraine was the head of the whole thing. And some of you remember Brenda Jones. Her mother, Violet Titmus, was from England, and she came to and help us. And Ruby Brenner was also another one of the sewers. And I remember the first time I went, I also met somebody named Mary Ann Maloney. And at that time, she was very active at church. And she worked, she lived in Santa Clara. And I don't remember too much about that because I didn't do too many things because I had to stay home and take care of all my kids. And Ann Walker later on worked very hard on some of them. So I told Su Ying this, when I joined, Lorraine Fife looked at my son, who was maybe 6 months old, and said that when he gets married, we'll have all the things ready. We'll have the wedding hangings and all the other things. So when my son finally decided to get married, and I took him to church, and we looked at it and all that, but he didn't get married in St. Thomas, so he didn't use the special wedding frontal. And well, that's my story on all of this. And it was a lot of fun doing it. And I learned a lot. And I think we have some blue hangings that also was done by Linda Almaston. She's a very good seamstress too.
Mm. Yes, I think a lot of the raw silk hangings.
Yes, she loved to work with silk hanging.
Oh, it's beautiful. This is probably, this and the Advent set are among my favorite. And when I did Lorraine Fife's funeral, her daughters wanted to see this piece because they also loved this piece. So thank you for telling us about some of the Needle Guild at that time. I'm going to remute you right now. And now I want to call your attention to the back here. The back of the church, that wall is called the Reredos. Reredos, and it has historically housed and still houses some of our seasonal panels that we put up when the season changes. And now we are adding to the use of the panels with what the Liturgical Arts Guild has been doing. And much of what you see is the brilliance of Pam Storer. And Pam, do you want to say anything about this Pentecost piece that you worked on back here? I know that Liturgical Arts had helped you, but you did a lot of this work.
Yes. I don't know how many of them I made, and there are many more not hanging up there, but these are paint stir sticks in various different sizes. And I used ribbon, all kinds of ribbon to look like flame. I glued them to the sticks. But first I put a hole in each one of the sticks, drilled a hole so that I could hang, we could hang them to look like flames. And they're hanging with embroidery thread that kind of disappears, which is good. I wanted it to be the same color as the flame, so it would work into it. It was hours of work. And I got
Nice.
so tired of the glue, but it was hours of the work. And when I'm well enough to do it again, and there's another Pentecost that we are in the church, we're going to use all of them, and you'll get to see what it can look like.
Looking forward to that. And thank you, Pam,
You're
for
welcome.
working on that. It's so beautiful.
They get tangled when you try to put them up.
And now I will show you a picture of those kneelers that Clarabelle mentioned. These are kneelers, they're all needle points, and they they sit in the chapel. If you go into the chapel, underneath the seats are these kneelers, and the Sunday school at the time had these drawings with the scripture verse, and then I believe Jane Margaret Russell and her father John Russell helped figure out how to put these onto to scale it for a kneeler, and the needlepoint was done here. This would be a copy of a Sunday school drawing, and then here is the shield of Saint Thomas. So you can take a look at those, and there are other needlepoint items in the church, like on the bishop's chair. That was a big piece with the new seal of uh, the Diocese of El Camino Real, because at one point this diocese and Diocal were one diocese, but when it was taken off, it they had to create a new seal. So go look at the bishop's chair sometime. It's the blue cushions out there in the sedilia, and you can see the needlepoint done there. You'll see the banner here. And this piece I commissioned, uh, and Peg Pryor did most of the work on this. So this is so at convention and various other diocesan events, we usually take a banner and we are in the procession and we carry our banner. And our last banner was getting a little older, and this is our new banner. And for our 110th anniversary, we had Bishop Mary bless this banner when she came to visit us. And this image here, I had at first wanted to have the face of Thomas be a mirror because he's St. Thomas Didymus, meaning the twin. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be neat for us to look into the face of Thomas and see ourselves? Uh, that idea wasn't as exciting to the builders of this banner than as for me. The theology I liked, and I guess it probably executing it might not have been as easy. But so the Craft Guild worked on this. Stephanie Doherty and Fran Hotzler helped Peg put some of this lettering in, and maybe some of the stitching in this. You can see Peg all over here because of all the quilting. And then my last thing I want to share, and you can see much more of this next time when we're in the church, and I'm happy to talk to you about it. This is the last piece I want to show you, and this was painted by our previous rector, Wendy Smith. So she took a class in iconography, and this piece was painted and blessed by Bishop Mary for our 100th anniversary. And this piece hangs in the sedilia right next to the bishop's chair. And the reason I want to end with an icon is that I want to talk about how all the things that are beautiful in our church that are made by loving hands, they, in and of themselves, like everything else we do, are not holy in and of themselves. They are holy in that they point to God and they point to love and this community that is greater than these items. These items are in service to the holy. And that's exactly what an icon is. There used to be these debates in the church about whether whether there should be icons or not, and are they graven images, etc. And everything can become a graven image if you value that thing in and of itself, if it becomes so precious to you that that thing is precious, rather than what an icon does is that it points away from itself to God. And so looking at the thing helps you know God better and worship better. Then that's what an icon does. And I think about how all these beautiful things that are done by Tabitha and by our Needle Guild and by our Liturgical Arts Guild, our Crafts Guild, and the Archives Guild that preserves all these things. This is iconic work that points away from the object toward God, toward community, toward love. And so I just want to celebrate that today, and I wanted to give you a little tour of our space. Amen.